I date as a man? I think the question will be answered by many of my guests better than I will try. However, as a man, please do not be scared. I want to tell all my brothers, the youth, you may have been rejected a couple of times, and now you are scared to be rejected for the third time. So you go 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. You give a sign that you are interested in a girl, and you take the sign back and as if you are not. Please examine yourselves. Why did you fail, or why the prior relationships didn't work? If it wasn't your fault, and there is nothing you need to correct in yourself, trust in God and your abilities and move forward. Make yourself available in the arena of dating, meetings, trips, retreats, outings. Make yourself nice in a group. Show yourself as an elegant man. Give opinions when you are asked. Answer when you are asked. Give a nice smile, and don't ever be overdoing things. Keep your eyes pure. Girls notice the person who's very lusting versus the person who has purity, and it turns them off if you are a guy who wants to take things from them. Watch where your eyes are looking when you're standing talking to a girl. Be careful not to give signs that you are interested in someone and you are not. That's deceiving. That's not the work of one of the sons of God. Only if you are interested in her, show her the signs that bring you that you are interested. And if she reciprocates, start going out in courting. I want to give you another advice, my son or my brother. Make everything in light and don't touch, and stay away and be pure.
We spend time together in public places. We spend time together getting to know one another. We assess whether God is calling us together to be together. We assess one another's relationships with God. I, as someone looking to establish whether this person is God's will for my life, I'm looking for fruit evidence. The Lord urged us to judge by fruit. What does that mean? I judge a tree by its fruit. I'm looking carefully to see whether the fruit is there. What is the fruit? The fruit is actual evidence of a relationship with God. So, I might ask questions like, what have you read in the Bible today? I might ask questions about quiet time spent with God. I might ask questions about acts of service in the church. What about commitment to God in the church? What about frequency of confession and frequency of communion? What are you doing, in other words, that I can see with my eyes and not just trust what you say, so that I can assess the nature and the seriousness of your relationship with God?
The man should take that initiative and take the risk of rejection. So the man goes up and starts a conversation, and the conversation should not be, hey, do you want to go out with me? Or hey, do you want to get married? Or hey, I'm ready to get married. It should be like, hey, what did you think of the lecture that we just had? Or hey, that's a pretty cool, sweatshirt that you have on. I love that sports team. Or hey, that was a great song. Or hey, I really like the point that you said. It's any way to start a conversation, because your goal isn't to marry her. You don't know anything about her. Your goal is to get to know her and see if you even want to get to know her more, right? It's essentially to find a friendship. And A healthy marriage is founded on, is based on a great friendship and the blessing of God. That's what it is. And so you need to be friends. And how do friends happen? How do friendships happen? It's by finding connection and talking. And so your goal as a man is to pursue, to take the risk, and to start a conversation. If the conversation doesn't go well, if it feels awkward, if she's not interested, or if she doesn't want to talk, or if she's busy, or you can't find the opportunity, then it's all right. You just move on. It's not like you're a horrible person. It just didn't happen. And there's like 3 or 4 billion other women out there. So as a man, your first responsibility, of course, all in the spirit of prayer, is to go and start a conversation and take the risk of not getting a good response. And that's okay. It's not about you.
How about girls? How do girls date? In the right context, in the right age, in the right maturity, in all the aspects we have mentioned, if you, my daughter, and my sister have learned enough about yourself, go for dating. And dating or courting means make yourself available. Smile when you're supposed to smile, laugh when you have to laugh. Don't overdo things. Be available in environments which brings courting to a reality. Be sincere when you talk to someone. Don't give signs and you don't mean it. And don't push people away in an aggressive way. My sister and my daughter, there is nothing wrong if you are in the right religious atmosphere and there is a good Son of God before you, that you show real interest in him so he can learn that you are opening the door for him to ask you and ask about you. I never tell any of my daughters you are wrong in opening a door like that. Boys are hopeful that you can do this because many of them were rejected and they are afraid to be rejected again.
You should be dating with the blessing of your father of confession, your parents, and you shouldn't just be dating to fulfill your desires, whether it be sexually or emotionally. You should be dating to find a spouse that is going to bring you closer to God and is going to lead your family to the kingdom, essentially.
As a girl, before you start dating, be confident in who you are. I want you to have a healthy self-esteem. You can only be confident and have a healthy self-esteem through a relationship that's deeply rooted in God. Because if you don't, and you get involved in any relationship, more than likely, you will change yourself to please the person you are dating. You will compromise your morals and your values because you want to be accepted. You don't want to be rejected. If you are not confident and you don't have a healthy self-esteem, you will do whatever it takes to please someone else. Don't do that to yourself. Also, girls, be bold. Do not be weak. Set boundaries to your relationships and speak them and communicate them effectively. There is nothing wrong with you telling the person you're dating, we are not going to have sex. I am going to keep myself pure until marriage. And be proud of that. Don't be intimidated. Don't give in. If he does not respect you, then you walk away. Then he's not a man that you want to be with. Something else, girls, when you date as a girl, be careful with how you dress. You are not to dress in a way that seduces the opposite sex. You can dress very modestly, but look very attractive. People don't need to see your body parts. That's for you. That is not to be exposed. Protect your body. Also, girls, I want you to be very careful when you're dating. The relationship may not work out, and you may be rejected. And that's okay. You have to be prepared for a healthy rejection. It should not destroy you. It does not mean you are not beautiful, and it does not mean you are not good. It's just that's not the right relationship with you. Don't let rejection hurt you, and don't let rejection let you fall into despair. Be confident in who you are. And when you have your identity in Christ, no one can take that away from you. So there is a way that a girl can date in a very healthy environment. Do it carefully. If you need to speak to someone, if you need to confide in someone, please do so and receive wise counsel.
When to draw the lines in dating? One, if we're not going out and God is our third, this is not correct courting. If you're going out to have fun only without meaning to marry, this is not courting. If you are going out and you are lusting and using physical relationships, this is not courting. If you are spending time with a person and you know in your heart it's not going to work, wasting his or her time, that's not sincere courting. Courting is a very honest and excellent and amazing and a lovely time in your life. You will treasure it all your lives. But please be sincere, be honest, and trust the presence of God in your relationships. There are 3 ways you can choose with: your feelings, your mind, and then with a triangular combination of the spirit, feelings, and mind. And that's what a balanced person needs to date with. If you are a very rational person only, you will calculate, you will examine the person from many aspects: her beauty, her job, his ability to conduct an interview, but you don't have any feelings. And if you have feelings only without rationale, you will accept and love a person and later on find that reasonably he is not acceptable. Rationally, it's not making sense. He is not compatible. And if you take both but you leave God out, you let a very important factor in your selection to be dropped, because God is the guarantee for your success of your courting. So you need the Spirit of God to tell you, ask your brain if you are convinced that this person is good. The third step, your brain will tell your feelings, he's a good man, she's a good girl. Let your feelings be free. And number 4, if the 3 steps are done, go for it and date. Try not to mess up the order. But if you started with your feelings, rush and bring God and rationale in, because it's very destructive if you love without learning if he is a reasonable person or not.
Sexual immorality is sin. In Romans chapter 6, verse 11 says that we have to consider ourselves to be dead to sin, dead to the power of sin on us. But we have to consider ourselves instead to be alive to God through Jesus Christ. So, I am dead to the power of sin, and I am living in the power of God through Jesus Christ. Not any part of my body can become an instrument of evil. Instead, I am giving myself completely over to God. Sin is no longer my master. The desire for this physical relationship is not my master, but Christ is my master, and I live in the freedom of God's grace.
Now, there is another issue, which is, some people call it Coptic culture. I would rather call it Egyptian culture, that many people claim, and to some extent they are right. It's better not to break an engagement. 2, you cannot date or court because people will talk about you and you will lose your fame or reputation. And I want to say, I respect to some extent that we have culture issues. But I don't want you to marry a person only because you are afraid of what people will say. If every single person in your life and every single sign in your relation telling you that this courting is not working and this engagement needs to be broken, then you don't continue, even if the culture will somewhat talk about you. Second, I would definitely recommend that you date or court before engagement for the same cultural issues you mentioned. If your parents are aware, his parents are aware, and the father of confession is aware, and everything in the light of God, then you go for dating or courting before you accept the person for engagement. Simply because during engagement, unfortunately, the time is spent or rather lost in selecting colors of tablecloth in the reception hall and colors or combinations of colors of roses. I beg you to please concentrate the time to learn about each other rather than you waste it in this nonsense. So courting may have to precede an engagement.
I have a strong opinion about healthy dating. And, you know, some people call it courtship, and that's okay. Those are just words. The point is that there needs to be a good period, a good length period of getting to know each other before you commit more and more. I personally see engagement as, and I mean like, you know, proposing and having a prayer with the priest for an engagement prayer as a serious step. And when you take that step, it means that it's very clear that you're moving towards marriage and that you want to get married. Now, before that, there's a lot of gray area on what you should, on what's happening or what happens. And I wouldn't say it's gray because no one knows what's going on. It's because there's a lot of growth that's happening, and you could be at different stages of that growth up to the point where you propose. So dating is getting to know each other, you know, having fun, asking lots of very important questions, having a lot of very, very important discussions, seeking guidance, and learning about each other, each other's friends, each other's families, each other's likes and dislikes, habits, expectations. And we have to date before we get married. We have to get to know each other before we get married. And then after some time in dating, you decide that I think this is the person that I want to get married to. And you decide that you want to express that commitment by asking that person to marry you.
I respect our Coptic culture and I respect our Coptic church very much. But they do not define you. To date before you're engaged is something that you should discuss first with your parents, because you have to respect the opinion of your parents and you have to be obedient and submissive to them first. The Coptic church and the Coptic culture sets boundaries because they care about you and they love you and they want to protect you. But they're not there to judge you. To date before you're engaged is okay, but you have to be careful because it's serious. It's not a time to play with other people's emotions. You also have to be very careful with how you carry yourself. I'm not telling you not to care about what the culture thinks about you or what the church thinks about you. You should care, but you should also carry yourself with dignity, protect your reputation, don't walk around carelessly, and don't have the attitude of dismissing what people say about you. When I say the Coptic culture and the Coptic church does not define you, it does not mean you disregard their opinion. I am just telling you that if you are walking upright before God and you are doing what's right before God, He is the one that you honor above all. But we also have a responsibility to one another as fellow Christians to do the right thing and preserve our reputation, because we are the children of God, we are the members of the same Coptic church, and we are one family.
Here in our Western culture, where it is more forgiving, it's okay to stay engaged. It's okay to engage in courtship a little bit longer before you get into engagement, so long as you are carefully under the supervision of your spiritual father. Both parties are under the care and supervision of a spiritual father, so long as you are able to manage any temptation, so far as your circumstances are apt, do so to the extent it's within your power, to the extent your families and the culture permit. Having said this, note the caveat. We must be respectful of culture. We cannot live in a vacuum. Culture counts. So there is general culture and there is subculture. Subculture is your family culture. If you find that the subculture involved in one or more of the couple really frowns upon either a long courtship or the idea of delaying engagement, you need to take this into consideration. This is why it's so important to seek the counsel of your spiritual father.
I understand the culture, or the Egyptian culture. It's a little bit different here in America, where people tend to date before getting engaged. And there's nothing wrong with dating before engagement as long as it's done correctly. It's done under the guidance of parents and the father of confession. And that should lead towards engagement if it's continuing well. And the purpose of engagement is to figure out if this is the person I want to marry. Whether the engagement ends with a wedding or whether it ends with the couple breaking up, that's what I consider a successful engagement. You've at that point figured out if I'm going to continue with this person and marry them, or I'm going to not continue and break things off because this person is not right for me.
See, there are many issues about dating and courting that I wish you can keep an eye on, and I hope you benefited from everyone who spoke in this episode. A very healthy courting or dating will lead to excellent engagement and future happy marriage. But if you start messing up now, cutting corners and doing the wrong things, unfortunately you will be in a vicious circle. Because fire needs to stay in Fireplace. I hope you enjoyed dating in Fireplace. Until we meet again, God bless.